Have you ever had to pause a movie, mute a video, or physically leave a room because someone on screen was about to embarrass themselves and you couldn't handle watching it happen? Not because it's boring or because you don't care, but because your body starts reacting before the failure even lands. Your chest tightens, your face flushes, your stomach drops. You feel the humiliation as if you're the one standing under the spotlight about to crash. Most people can watch someone bomb a presentation, forget their lines, or walk into an obvious social disaster and laugh it off. Some even seek out cringe content for entertainment, but for you, it's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's physically uncomfortable in a way that makes you want to escape. People call this being too sensitive or overreacting to something that's not even real. People who can't watch others fail aren't weak or overly emotional. They're experiencing something called empathic anticipatory anxiety, a state where your mirror neurons fire for shame, embarrassment, and rejection before the person on screen has even fully experienced it themselves. And for many people, that response didn't come from nowhere. It came from living through their own failures in environments where mistakes weren't just corrected, they were cataloged, mocked, or used as proof that you weren't good enough. Stay until the end of this video because once you understand the psychology of people who can't watch others fail, you'll see that your reaction to secondhand embarrassment is less about being too much and more about a nervous system that learned shame early and never forgot. Let's start with what's actually happening in your brain. Picture someone about to sing karaoke. They're confident, maybe even overconfident, but you can already tell they're off key. You can see the moment coming when the room will go quiet, when people will exchange looks, when the performance will collapse into awkward laughter or polite applause that doesn't hide the embarrassment. And before any of that happens, your body is already responding. This is your mirror neuron system at work. Mirror neurons are brain cells that fire both when you perform an action and when you watch someone else perform that same action. They're part of how humans develop empathy, learn social cues, and emotionally attune to others. When you watch someone succeed, your brain simulates that success. When you watch someone fail, your brain simulates that failure, including the emotional aftermath. For most people, that simulation is mild. They might wince, feel a little uncomfortable, then move on. But for people who can't watch others fail, the simulation is intense. It's not just, oh, that's awkward. It's a full physiological response: increased heart rate, muscle tension, the urge to flee or intervene. Your brain isn't just observing the failure, it's experiencing it. Psychologically, this is empathic anticipatory anxiety. You're not waiting to see how it plays out. You're already feeling the outcome before it arrives, and your nervous system is trying to protect you from an emotional experience it recognizes as dangerous. Now let's talk about why this happens more intensely for some people than others. Imagine growing up in an environment where your mistakes weren't just corrected. Maybe a wrong answer in class led to public humiliation. Maybe forgetting your lines in a school play meant weeks of teasing. Maybe stumbling over your words at the dinner table got you mocked by siblings or dismissed by adults who thought it was funny. In those moments, failure wasn't just about getting something wrong. It became about your worth, your intelligence, your right to take up space. Your brain didn't just record, I made a mistake. It recorded, mistakes make me a target. Mistakes mean I'm not safe. So now, when you see someone else about to fail, your nervous system doesn't treat it as their problem. It treats it as a threat. Because your mirror neurons are running a preview of the emotional experience. And that preview includes all the shame, rejection, and social pain you've already lived through. Your body is essentially saying, I know how this ends, and I don't want to feel it again, even secondhand. This is what trauma-based hyperempathy looks like. It's not just caring about others. It's your own unresolved experiences of shame getting activated every time you witness someone else approaching that same edge. Then there's the question of why certain types of failure hit harder than others. Maybe you can watch someone lose a game or miss a shot and feel fine. But watching someone give a speech with visible anxiety, tell a joke that doesn't land, or confidently perform something they're objectively bad at, that's unbearable. The difference is usually in how closely it mirrors your own experiences. If you've ever been laughed at for trying something new, you can't watch someone else get laughed at. If you've ever felt the silence after a joke that bombed, you can't sit through someone else's comedic failure. If you've stood in front of people and felt their judgment, you can't watch a stranger do the same, even if it's fictional. even if it's supposed to be funny. Your brain isn't making a distinction between them and you in those moments. The emotional signature is too similar. So it responds the way it would if you were the one failing, by flooding you with the need to escape, to stop the pain before it fully registers. People who can't watch others fail aren't being irrational. They're responding to a very real neurological and emotional process that connects present observation to past pain. Their empathy isn't abstract, it's embodied. Fast forward to now. People who can't watch others fail are often misunderstood. Others say, "It's just a movie, relax," or "Why do you take everything so seriously?" They get labeled as overly sensitive, anxious, or unable to handle normal social situations. But that explanation ignores what's actually happening inside. They aren't fragile, they aren't avoiding reality. They aren't incapable of handling discomfort. They're experiencing a level of empathic resonance that most people don't have, and that resonance is often rooted in their own history of being shamed, rejected, or humiliated for failing in front of others. They've developed a nervous system that reads failure, even someone else's, as a threat, not because they're weak, but because they learned early that failure in public comes with consequences that go far beyond the mistake itself. Their mirror neurons don't just observe, they relive. They figured out something most people never consciously recognize, that empathy isn't always gentle or comfortable. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes it means feeling someone else's pain so intensely that you have to look away just to regulate your own nervous system. That's not being dramatic. That's trauma based hyper empathy, one where your body doesn't distinguish between witnessing someone else's shame and reliving your own. And once you see that your inability to watch others fail is connected to how deeply you felt failure yourself, you stop apologizing for it. You start understanding that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to turn away, not because you don't care, but because you care so much it hurts.